notorious Noah demos the workout. Go, Mia.
He cuts it, right? I need a second.
Leave me alone, Chris.
We've got rowing, handstand walking, and a heavy snatch.
We release these workouts right here on our YouTube channel at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
When? What day?
Thursdays. Damn it, I had one sentence.
Before we get into it, make sure you hit that subscribe button because we're on our road to 35K subscribers. And when we hit that milestone, we're gonna give away a 𝐒𝐚𝐥𝐿 2.0 barbell. Let us know your strategy for this workout in the comments below. That comment is what's going to enter you into the giveaway. Once we reach that 35,000 subscriber milestone, we'll use a random YouTube comment generator on one of these videos where we promoted the giveaway to draw a worldwide winner for that bar. So all you gotta do is be subscribed and comment below to enter.
Welcome back to the Throwdown, everyone. This is week 2 of our 7-part series where we're changing the Throwdown to train for in-person style workouts. So Mia, what do we got this week?
This week's Throwdown is 2 parts, 2 different scores. You're gonna start off with, for time, a 1K row into a 100-foot handstand walk. There's a 10-minute cap on that part. At the 10-minute mark, you have 7 minutes to find your 1 RM snatch.
For a warm-up, movement standards, and a scaled version of this workout, check the description down below.
This week's demo athlete is Noah Ohlsen. He doesn't need an introduction because you probably know him if you like CrossFit.
If you do this workout, use that hashtag. You guys are supposed to yell with me.
Oh.
Hashtag pointed. Look at the hashtag
And
up
we'll
there.
repost you on our Instagram.
That hashtag.
Wow.
Scoot back in, you've shifted.
He swings his bear paw at me. What am I supposed to do?
Let's go see Noah's strategy.
Ladies and gentlemen, our demo athlete this week is Noah Ohlsen. He stands at 5'7", although I think without his dreadlocks, he's probably 5'3". He's 190 pounds. He's 29 years old, 364 days, almost a 30-year-old, almost over the hill, but still looking in his prime. Stats that we're looking at, 288-pound max snatch. He can walk on his hands 300 feet in a minute 39.4, and his 1K row PR is 259.7.
Ooh, man, this one is gonna be a spicy one.
Ooh, man, this one is gonna be a spicy one.
It is a 1K row to start off a workout is never a good way to do it. Based off of the 1K that I PR'd during phase 1 of last year's games, I think I was just sub 3. It was like 259.99, and that left me on the floor for a moment. The workout here doesn't end after the 1K row, so I can't be left on the floor. I have to be walking across the floor on my hands, and then I have to snatch a lot. So, all that said, I'm gonna back off of that pace just a little bit. And rather than rowing at a 130 per 500, I'll probably row at like a somewhere between like a 132 to a 135. So that'll have me getting off the rower around 305-ish, we'll see. And then hopefully I'm able to transition very quickly right into the handstand walk, knock those out, then catch my breath. And I have no idea how the snatches are gonna feel after all that. Hopefully pretty crispy.
Oh, what's the station that plays all the hits?
103.5, The Beat.
3, 2, 1, 0.
He goes, what did he row his 1K in during the games?
He was just under 3 minutes. I think he was 258 point something, 258.9 or 259.
Which was a PR, correct?
Yeah, that was a PR. So going into this, he said he wanted to hold between 130 and 135 the entire time. So you can see the screen in the top left so far, successfully done.
Yeah. For elite males and females, you want to row fast, but you still can make up a lot of time on the handstand walk. So going out at a PR pace and then falling multiple times doesn't really help. Someone like Noah that knows he's one of the fastest handstand walkers in the world, he wants to be close to that PR, but have enough energy where he can make a fast transition, which we will see if he does in a few minutes.
Yeah, it's kind of a tough balance because if you row too slow and you get up and you crush the handstand walk, there's still probably an equal amount of time given up by slowly rowing because 10 seconds on that short of a handstand walk is a pretty good amount of time. So it's you got to go out hard and you got to be able to figure out how to still walk fast while going out near your max effort row pace.
Yeah, absolutely. He's doing a great job of holding the pace that he wanted to hold. I think for most people, that 600 to 400, if we were counting down, is going to be the hardest mentally. But if you can stay in it there, it's the same thing with any, like a 2K, it's that 800 to 1200 range. If you can stay in it mentally there, then you can have a nice kick at the end.
Would you stay away from that like sprint finish of the 1K that you would normally see?
I would have to, because I wouldn't be able to have a fast transition. But I think someone like Noah, he probably ends up maybe even holding this or picking up just a second or two and still transitioning quickly.
I don't think it's worth a sprint finish in this format. I think you're better off keeping your pace and then just getting off and transitioning quickly.
Yeah.
Because if you sprint finish, but then you need like 5 to 10 seconds to kind of recover yourself as you start your handstand walk, you basically gave up all the
time that you sprinted.
Yeah,
for
exactly.
Sure.
Since we've gotten one minority person feedback that we don't focus as much on females.
That was
what
two.
type of you and somebody else? What would be an equivalent pace? So like a 3-minute 1K is kind of like an elite target that a lot of, I mean, now it's gotten like into the low 250s or even high 240s, but sub 3 is kind of where you're like, all right, you're good enough that you're, you know, within the pack of elite males. Where's the equivalent for females as setting targets?
So my 1K PR is a 3:26, and I wouldn't say I'm like the best at that, but I'm pretty good at it. I'm tall. I'm a decent rower, especially if it's just like isolated rowing.
Yeah.
So I'd say like 330 to 340 is a pretty strong 1K for women, and it is going to vary a lot with height. I think for women, even like it varies for men, but like even more so for women from what I've seen.
Yeah, and there's a larger discrepancy between the high-powered female in the sport and then those that are maybe like more gymnastics based.
Yeah.
All right, 305.1. Sorry, I didn't want to cut you guys off after my question, but it's time to watch.
Like that transition, people don't understand how fast that was. And again, going back to like the handstand walk's the biggest separator for sure. Unless you're going like super slow on the row, but you know, on the male side, everyone's going to be on the elite side, 305 to 310, and then it's just about how fast you can transition and then obviously walk.
So that was 7 seconds from finishing row to on his hands for handstand walking, and then each one of these turnarounds is basically turn around and kick right back up. So you're looking at one of the probably best demonstrators of this type of workout. Maybe there's somebody that, like, you know, 𝐒𝐜𝐚𝐥𝐝's pretty good at handstand walking, but he's a lot taller, so maybe could kind of give a better, like a little bit faster on the row and still match the handstand walk, but this is about as good as it's gonna get.
Yeah, that is world class for sure.
All right, so just under 4 minutes. He's got a lot of rest time. You guys probably won't have as much rest time, so we're gonna fast forward to his snatches. Remember, there's no snatches inside of this rest time. Your first lift can start at the 10-minute mark, which we will fast forward right now to. And we're back.
All right, so what is Noah's 1RM snatch right now, Max?
So his best ever is 288. I'd say his like top lift is somewhere between 275 and 285, depending on how much training volume he's doing and how much snatch work we're specifically doing.
So he opens at 225. You guys can do the math on kind of like what that percentage is, and then obviously pick a starting weight for you that you know you can hit.
I'll put that percentage on the whiteboard segment after this.
I could not do that in my head quickly, so that's why I said it.
I personally would open pretty light here, just because think of like the amount of time you have the workout, but then you also have the rest time, so that's a long period of time that you're not doing any snatches.
Well, unless it takes you forever to do the handstand walk.
Yeah, that's true.
You won't have much time.
Yeah, good point. For me, I would open pretty light personally.
Noah's pretty confident in snatch, and the handstand walk for him, I mean, you guys saw 100 feet took him, what, like 40 seconds or 35 seconds, something crazy like that. So he had plenty of rest time, like Mia said, and then his shoulder fatigue's not going to be as high as maybe someone like us up here who would have to start lighter.
Us up here? What do you mean? That wouldn't affect me.
Well, not Max, but Mia and I.
These mortals next to me. Yeah, Noah's, so this is a different format, lifting under fatigue, than what we saw like in the Open this year, where it's literally right after the Metcon, you have 7 minutes. This is kind of like maybe in between maximal effort fatigue and no fatigue lifting, where you have a period of time to kind of recover from the Metcon, still a short time window. This one maybe is a little bit more difficult that you just don't have the opportunity to kind of warm the lift up.
Yeah.
So you have to warm it up as you're lifting. I think for somebody like Noah, let's watch his lift first before I keep blabbing my mouth.
This is 255?
Yeah, this is 255. A little head nod. And
Nice.
successful
strong.
lifts. Yeah, I forgot what I was saying now. Oh, I was saying that Noah's had so much snatch exposure and lifting exposure under fatigue that maybe the not touching the lift for 7 minutes ahead of time might not throw him off. But if you're not as technically confident or competent, you might have to hit, like a lift on the 45 seconds that's kind of light and adding weight as you go and get closer to your, heavy lift just at the end of the time window.
Well, so we're doing these semifinal style workouts, but this could easily be seen in any in-person competition that you do, even if it's a local one. And something that I've had to learn, we should add this to the types of lifts you have to do, is corralled lifting. Mm-hmm. And what that means is you have to hit a lift after standing there for 20 minutes, maybe waiting for your heat and not having to touch a barbell. The first time I ever did that, it was really shocking and really hard. So this is something that if you want to compete in person, you need to learn how to do.
Yeah, and that's very hard because there's kind of multiple aspects that can play into that, right? Like your nervous system not being ramped up enough because you're sitting down and calming yourself down for 15 minutes in the corral. And also just like the technical aspect of not getting a touch for 15 minutes. Maybe you pull out a little front, a little too far back, whatever it may be. So this is really good practice. And that's also why we said no lifting in that rest window until 10 minutes so you can practice that.
I personally think I would rather do like a 21.4 lift than this, than stand there and
wait.
Get all shaky.
Yeah. So prior to this lifting session, so we had all of our on-site athletes demo these, and then Noah's actually going to redo this with our community, and we knew that was only 2 weeks apart, and we're about to start a semifinal training cycle. So I told him when we went into this session, I said, try to hit your technical lift, like 1 jump, 2 jumps, 3 jumps, super technical. If you miss, don't take any risks and don't try to hit your PR today. Let's try to save that for semifinals or just build on this from this demo to when he's actually going to do this, which will be in a couple days after this is released. So he went from 255, I think he jumped here to 270, and you'll see this. And this would probably be, if he was in an in-person competition, somewhere around this weight in a fatigue-based setting is probably where he'd try to hit his target. Let's say somewhere between high 260s and low 280s, which would be like, okay, I feel pretty good about what I'm able to do relative to my 1 rep max, his 1 rep max.
Yeah. The other thing that, since we're talking about rest times, the 1K row, even though that now it's 10 minutes after when he did that, that's still playing a role. So you got to keep that in mind. And it may not feel like 21.4 where you're going right into it, but that's a high power effort. And then going into this, obviously, is going to change the dynamics of the lift. 270.
And he missed. Yeah, so I told him after this, like, that was just a little bit technically off. He kind of dove his chest a little bit forward and wasn't really vertical in the catch and tried to chase it and catch it. It didn't really look like he wasn't capable of moving that weight. He obviously had enough vertical extension and enough movement in the bar. It just kind of looped out in front of him a little bit. And he felt confident that he could hit a little bit more than that. So he ends up putting
Good
1
old
pounder.
1-pounders.
Yeah, puts on the 1 pounders.
They make a difference.
It's so funny how a lot of the elites on site will do this. They'll miss a lift and then they go ahead and add weight. And you see this even like in competition with other elites that maybe aren't ours, but they always feel like, oh, that was okay, I just missed.
Yeah.
So
Does this count as adding weight, or is this just for the leaderboard? I don't think this counts as.
Get out of here, Mia.
Yeah, I think at that point it's a matter, like, you don't really see that with somebody on a deadlift or a back squat. It's generally only a technical lift, and most CrossFitters are not as technical in the Olympic weightlifts as like a true weightlifter. So there's a lot of technical misses.
Yeah.
When you're trying to train everything, it's hard to get all of your technical skills as high as possible. All right, here we are, 272. Silence.
Nice.
And he hits it. And
I thought he was about doing
super
overhead
happy.
squat for a second.
And then he knew he had 40 seconds. He looked at me and said, 1 more? And now he's running over and trying to
Of
add
course.
2.5 pounders to it. So now he's going up to 277.
Frantically.
Rushing it.
He's
He's got to get the weights on. He has 24 seconds left.
And
the
we're
bar.
down to 20 and 19.
He
He's
chopped up
chalking
his
up.
hands. That's a good idea.
And we got 15 seconds left. Here's some breath. Here's some arm shaking, approaching the bar. He's got time to make it. Let's see what he can do.
10 seconds on the clock.
He's got to rush.
Hail Mary.
And he does it all the way.
Just doing some snatch pulls.
Well done. There's the end of the time. Now, it's not Project Pat's time, it's my time on the whiteboard. See you there. All right, let's talk strategy for this workout. So you saw Noah demo the workout, probably as good of an execution as you'll see from an elite athlete. So elite and RX are probably going to be operating with a similar style of strategy in this workout. For the row, somewhere 5 to 10 seconds slower than your 1K with no sprint finish. Then for the handstand walk, fast transition, start, sprint, the turnarounds. The only caveat to this would be for RX athletes, if you have handstand walking as one of your major limitations, you might want to slow this row down a little bit because there's going to be more time saved from keeping your handstand walks as fast as possible than really dumping the tank on the row. Then for the snatch, 90 to 95% of your 1RM as a target weight under fatigue like this. The amount of lifts is going to be dictated by just what feels good to you. Noah only really took 3 lifts. He had that 4th one in there as a miss. But if you want to have more lifts, you can start with hitting 2 light ones in the first minute or any sort of strategy that allows you to get to that as a target. I'd probably take your heaviest lift somewhere around the 6-minute mark if you want an opportunity to try to take 2 attempts at it if you're not sure you'll make it, or try to take it all the way to the 17-minute mark before you take that final lift. For intermediates, things get a little bit more complicated, mostly because of the handstand walk, as generally one of the major skills that intermediate athletes will struggle to develop in the sport. So for the row, you're going to pace this relative to your handstand walking skill. So going through this workout, it might be in your best interest to row at more of a casual pace that's maybe 30 seconds slower than your 1K pace. So that way you can get off and you're not out of breath and you can transition right away to the handstand walk. As you're going through this, remember, you watch Noah do that in 4 sets of 25-foot unbroken sprinting segments with a fast turnaround, but the actual standard is 5-foot segments. So you can kick up, walk 5 feet, and fall down and break it up that way to get through it. One of the recommendations we'd probably say is have a set rest time for your handstand walk. So let's say if you can do it 15 to 20 seconds of rest. When you kick up, you go as far as you can until you fall down. When you fall, you go back to the line that you're on. You look at the clock, 15 to 20 seconds later, you kick up, and you just repeat that until you finish 100 feet. Go as far as you can if you're going to get capped. If you're not going to get capped, try to get through it as quickly as possible. Now, if you don't have handstand walking, we have the scaling option as wall walks in the description below. You can also do something like handstand shoulder taps, which is a little bit more similar to being fully inverted and having to post on one hand, which is what you see when you're doing handstand walking. If you don't have inversion skills, you could also do something like dumbbell overhead carries or lunges. Generally, dumbbell overhead carries, because you're walking on your feet, are going to go a lot quicker than handstand walks. So maybe if you are going to do dumbbell overhead carries, you want to do 200 feet or something like that, that gives you a little bit more time under tension holding something weight overhead. Then for the snatch, your snatch skill level will not be as high as the elite or RX, most likely if you're an intermediate athlete, and you're likely going to be much less accustomed to dealing with the fatigue of rowing and handstand walking. Your shoulders might be burned out from doing the handstand walking, and also Noah, for example, had 6 minutes of rest after he finished this first segment. If you're going to go all the way to the time cap, you could potentially have 1 minute rest or no rest before you take your first lift. So be prepared for shoulder fatigue. Also, be aware that you are likely going to have to take more lifts than elite athletes because your skill's not as refined. So you might want to do an EMOM structure, or you might want to get 3 or 4 lifts done in your first 2 minutes that are really light and that are more for you to just refine your nervous system's ability to feel technical in that specific movement. Also, just as a general rule of thumb, workout styles like this for intermediates, I'd put yourself more in a training mindset where you're focused on trying to hit lifts where you're super technical while tired, instead of trying to use these as your opportunities to hit PRs. Now, as we go through this, you can see how an elite athlete approaches an in-person style workout like this is going to be different than intermediate. For intermediate athletes, you still need this competition practice, so it's good to do this style of workout. But remember, as you move forward, to think about how you're training these skills. For example, in the design in our intermediate path, we have skill work for all the gymnastics. And if you do this style of workout and your 1K takes anywhere between 3 and 4 minutes, you're getting 6 total minutes of hand balancing work, working on handstand walking. With a quality training session, you might get 20, 30, 45 minutes or an hour's worth of work being on your hands, practicing the skill, working on your body line. So the skill work for intermediate athletes to develop these skills or to do snatch technique work instead of being under fatigued as actual strength work where you're hitting your percentages, you're progressing from week to week, and you're on training cycles that last 8 to 12 weeks where you can develop capacity is much more likely to start to take you out of this intermediate category and start to participate in the sport as an elite or RX athlete. You can go to trainingthinktank.com/DSGN and see a sample week. There's some skill work in the intermediate path there. I think it's in handstand push-ups and toes to bar, and you can kind of see how we frame gymnastics skill work a little bit differently for intermediate athletes versus elites and RX. That's all I got for strategy and training moving forward in the workout. Good luck. My man Project Pat's got to sign us off.
Dude, I think we skipped something. What? No? That was everything he told me to say. Okay. What did we miss? All right. Squeeze back in, Brandon. Yellow. Hello. So this, Chris.
It's a wrap, you know what I'm saying? Your boy Project Pata in this thing, man. Hey, look, man, thank y'all for watching Training Think Tank's YouTube channel. Y'all hit that motherfucking subscribe button, you know what I'm saying? So y'all go ahead, man. Thank y'all for watching the channel, you know what I'm saying? Hit that motherfucking subscribe button. Let it be known, what it be known, what it be known, you know what I'm saying? Pata.